Welcome, everybody, to the Collector Chatter podcast. This is episode 14. I am Miguel here with my co host Charlie, and we're going to be chatting up different collectibles today. We wanted to switch it up a little bit, and our main topic is going to be on hot toys. So that's going to be a very exciting topic that we're going to get into at the second half of the episode. But we'll start it off like we normally do with news and some drops and stuff like that. But before we get into that, Charlie, how are you doing? How was your week? And how's everything going?
I'm doing great. Great weekend. Went to look at some Christmas lights at an outdoor event, which was really fun. And, as always, ton of new, announcements in the Funko world. But I'm really excited to talk about the Hot Toys brand because to me, they're like, as much as I love Funko, they're the cream of the crop when it comes to like collectibles for, genre movies. So, I mean, for all of those who aren't familiar, I think this is going to be an episode you're really going to enjoy.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm kind of still new in this, but doing some research and stuff and knowing about how awesome these figures are, it's going to be really cool when we get into it. But hopefully, if you guys are fans of it, you'll enjoy it. If not, hopefully you still will enjoy it because you're going to see some pretty cool stuff that we're going to talk about in regards to Hot Toys. But we're like we normally do, we'll start off with some news, more Funko related and stuff that we normally talk about on a weekly basis. Within the last week, just kind of talking about some stuff that dropped. So first thing I wanted to say was one of the kind of big ones was it's not a pop or soda or anything like that. Was a big line of pop pins that actually that dropped. Yeah, they announced a ton. They announced My Hero Academia, Marvel, Teen Titans Go, some Star Wars, Goonies. So they kind of hit like everybody's fandom there. And each one I want to say had like 4 or so. A lot of them had chases, options,
which is cool
as well. Yeah, so that's super cool. The pop pins, I think we had mentioned them maybe a couple times just randomly if they happen to be dropping. I currently only have a Batman and a Robin that I randomly got one time, but I don't have too many other ones. Are you a fan of the pop pins? Or
It's funny. I have the Haunted Mansion ones that came out recently in Disney World.
those glow, don't they?
They do. They glow. They're
That's
really
cool.
cool. I Haunted Mansion. I collect Haunted Mansion memorabilia outside of Funko, and I was
Yeah.
never able to get like the main Hitchhiking Ghosts pops when they first dropped. They were Walt Disney World exclusives, and they had Comic-Con ones. And now they're just like mega grails for me, and they're really expensive. So it was a cool way to get those molds of those characters that I really like. And so I got them in the pop pins, but I don't have many of them. But I do
Yeah.
like some of the new Star Wars ones that are coming out. I may want to get a few of them.
Yeah, they look cool. I mean, it's just like the only reason why I don't go after them is because it's another thing, obviously.
Yeah, I know.
But it's a cool looking thing because it's a set. If you guys don't know, it's a giant pin. It's basically the size almost of the pop. It looks like the pop, but it's like flat. It's a pin. It's not like a full 3D mold essentially. But a lot of them have details. Sometimes they have like a leather like finish on some of
Yeah.
them, like a patent leather kind of thing, and then like they seem cool, but I don't know how to display them. Like I've never really, I have 2, like I said, and I haven't taken them out of the box. You can't really stand them up because the boxes are really thin.
Yeah. You would have to
So
take them out
they
of the
have a
box.
stand, right?
Yeah. They have
If
like
you
a
took them out of the
kickstand.
box.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what you would probably have to do if you really wanted to display them. The one thing I really like about them though is they kind of are bringing back like old molds of vaulted pops that for these lines that you may not have been able to get in your collection. So this is kind of like a way to somewhat get it. I think they're really trying to up the pop pin line because they're competing with Fig Pin. They're
Yeah.
become really, I mean, they'll never be a Funko, but for the pin space, like they're really high quality and they look pretty like they have a they have like a realistic look to them. I mean, it still looks like it's a piece of art. It's not just like a realistic image, but the characters, they don't have a style like Funko. It looks like I have an Ahsoka Tano one, like it looks like Rosario Dawson. So
Yeah.
like I definitely think their popularity is rising and Funko wants a piece of that.
Yeah. I was going to actually say, like, it's funny you said that because this episode being Hot Toys, I was actually going to compare it to that, where the fig pins are very realistic and like more like more like an art piece versus the pop pins is literally looks like a pop, and we
Pop.
all know that pops are very over exaggerated animated versions of a character, but the fig pins are like Hot Toys are. They're a lot more detailed in the sense of like, you know, what they look like. So I don't have any fig pins, but they look pretty cool in terms of like some of the ones that you see out there. I know Star Wars, they have a huge collection
Yeah,
and
they have
then
a
Star
lot.
Wars and stuff like that. So, but yeah, that was a pretty cool one just because it was a big drop. They came out as pre-orders through a few different sites. So if you guys grab those, you know, let us know if you guys are fans of the pop pins. Target had a ton of announcements, I feel like, in this last week.
They did.
We've been so up and down with Target, sometimes good, sometimes bad, but they've been announcing a lot of stuff. So some stuff has been exclusive to them. Specifically, if you guys don't know, we're obviously huge Marvel fans, and with the Hawkeye show coming out, and every week we kind of talked about this before, where as the episodes come out, we knew they were going to release more pops. So the newest two was a Clint and Kate, which I thought was amazing because they're in the Christmas like sweaters.
It was awesome.
Yeah, that scene was cool.
They're really
like
detailed.
Yeah, I like that they have the cuts now, because it was funny because I started thinking to myself, because this show only spans, essentially it's only going to span like 3 or 4 days because it's right up to Christmas, I think.
Yep.
And every episode they have these cuts, and I'm like, they're literally going to look like that the whole time. I was thinking that I was watching it. So I'm glad that the pops, they started to like put that detail in there, which is cool. But I said this to you, they released a Clint, they released a Kate. I wish it was a 2-pack. I think if it was a 2-pack, even if it was a Target exclusive, whatever it is, I think it would have been so popular. It might have eventually been like a grail, because some of the Marvel 2-packs in these shows, like the Wanda, this with the Suns, like things like that, have become really popular. I think it would have been a super popular, especially because they're dressed similar. It's from a scene.
Yeah, I can agree with you more.
It would have made sense.
Makes no sense that it's not a 2-pack, and it's not necessarily like, oh, they could charge more money. I mean, they could have just made it the exact same price to make it a 2-pack. I mean, I think that's a big miss, because it's not that they're random not together, but it's kind of like you're gonna buy like I pre-ordered them because I want them, but you know, I needed both. I wouldn't want just one and not the other. So why not just make
that's why it seems like they just were meant to be together. They're meant from a scene. They're dressed very similar. So like you said, you're gonna get both of them, which I guess maybe in their eyes are probably making more money by having 2 separate pops, and then you're just buying them because they know you're gonna get them both. But either way, that was a pretty cool one that dropped. Target also announced 2 more exclusives on the DC side, and these I think are hideous, but we're still gonna bring them up. And it is the artist series Catwoman and Mr. Freeze. So I think are they the movie version molds? I couldn't remember. I seen them really quick.
They're the movie version.
Okay, so it is.
Yes.
So it's the movie version of Catwoman and of Mr. Freeze, but they look ridiculous. I mean, if you guys haven't seen them, they're very similar to when they start dropping a lot of these extra Batman art series, and then you can kind of compare them to the Ninja Turtle ones that are now coming out. Some of these like weird ones where it's not an artist style. I mean, we've gone down the rabbit hole with this, but basically they just kind of kept them all one color, and then they have like a little design or something on them. I think like one's blue, and then
it's like weird snowflakes. Like, I mean, I get it, Mr. Freeze, but and I know we've, not to go on the artist series tangents, like we disagree a little bit about the turtle ones. Like, I don't mind the turtle ones. Like, these are just, like, in my opinion, dumb. Like the Catwoman one looks ridiculous. Like there's just I don't know why anyone would want that. And like you yourself, you're a huge, I don't know, a bigger Batman fan, and you have no interest in it. That's a problem for fun.
Right away I was like, there's no way. It actually reminded me, not even like the Ninja Turtle ones, because like you said, those are not as bad. The ones that it really reminded me of, where I was like, what in the world, was like that Year of the Shield, Captain America Silver
they're gonna
versions that they did. That's what it reminded me. I'm like, like this is insane. Like there's no way. And I feel like it's through Target again, because Target almost seems like it has all of these, all the artist series, the ones. And I think it's going to be something that's going to be sitting on shelves as well. So like, totally passing on this. But if you're a big DC fan and for some reason you like some of this art series stuff, I guess it could be cool for you. But was not something I was excited for in terms of like drops.
I'm not excited at all. But what I'm really excited that Target dropped, they came out with a Star Wars Visions pop. This is an anime show that is on Disney Plus. It came out a few months ago, and they're all, centralized single stories. This happens to be the best one, and I'm so pumped they made this Ronin pop. Like the moment I saw it, I've been like I brought it up on one of the episodes, like this would be a line I'd want them to make. I never thought they would. And the fact that they did, I'm really, really happy. So that was a must for
That
me.
that's it. So I didn't watch the series. I obviously heard of it. I didn't watch it. I didn't know it was kind of separate episodes or different. But when I saw this pop, like first of all, it looks super cool. But kind of inform me on this. So is it an anime? Like
It is
not
an
just animation,
anime.
like it's
No,
an
no.
actual anime,
It is
like
a straight
Japanese
up
style?
anime that they got all different Japanese studios to make the episodes. It's something that Lucasfilm has not done since Disney bought them. They gave them free kind of like creative control. I know at the end of the day, Lucasfilm had to, give the sign of
Yeah.
approval, but they're standalone stories that aren't part of canon. So
Okay.
they were allowed to do like whatever they wanted. It didn't have to fit within, the universe they're building, whether it's on Disney Plus or like the original Scott, what they call now the Skywalker saga. So yeah, and I'm not a huge anime person, but because it was Star Wars, I had to watch it and it made me like really like it. I'm like, oh, maybe I should check out some
Yeah.
other anime.
Was it more the style was anime, or because like is it still Star Warsy, like space
I
and
mean,
like
some of the
that kind of thing?
episodes are, but like it doesn't take a rocket scientist to watch it. If you didn't know it was Star Wars, it would be, or you'd be like, oh,
Okay.
this was influenced by Star Wars.
Yeah.
But, some episodes were kind of cheesy and weren't that great. Some of them, like this one, was just like completely badass. Like they even
Yeah.
made a book about it, which I think is like really popular from this character. So they must have seen like we should try to make some collectibles off it. It seems like they
That's
made,
cool.
yeah, and it weirdly is the first episode. So I mean, I would recommend. I think you would enjoy it. It's
Yeah.
really cool, and they're pretty
I think I'm
short.
gonna have to check it out.
They're pretty
Okay,
short.
cool. Yeah, I think I would check it out because yeah, the pop looks awesome. It's his name's Ronin. Is that what
Yep.
the name is?
Yeah,
And
he's like
I mean, he looks like a samurai or something like
he
style
is
almost like super. Yeah, so that's super cool.
totally.
So yeah, so it's a deluxe. It's what is like two like characters in it,
Yeah, it
right?
comes
It's
with
like
his
almost like
like
a little
droid,
scene.
which kind of looks like
Okay.
R2D2. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, so I did see that was a Target drop as well. So yeah, so Target's been dropping a lot of stuff. So besides that, we also had a Walmart thing. So this was pretty cool. So I don't know if you saw these. We didn't talk about them and I didn't see them throughout the week. I ended up kind of seeing when I looked back to recap.
Yep.
So Walmart released a couple pop Funko related things, but that weren't figures. And one of them was mugs. So they released 2 Boba Fett pop mugs and a backpack, Boba Fett backpack. The mugs were super sick.
They're pretty
like
cool.
it's literally like the helmet essentially with the handle on the side and open up at the top. There's 2 different ones that they release, and then the backpack is very similar. Because is it like the helmet or it's just like
the backpack is like the helmet of Boba Fett.
It's like the helmet as well,
yep.
right? Yeah.
And then the mugs was like what we all know as Boba Fett's helmet, and then like the prototype version of it, which
the prototype, like a white one. Yeah. So they look pretty cool. So those went up for I think pre-order, both of those through Walmart. But that was something that I thought was pretty cool. I saw it afterwards and I was like, wow, these are actually pretty cool. The mugs. I mean, it's kind of funny because I just recently ordered mugs through Funko because Funko dropped a bunch of these like mugs recently, and I was placing an order for some pops and I was like usual short of free shipping. So I was like, let me grab a couple things, and I actually grabbed some mugs, and I don't know why, because I have so many mugs. Because
I know I wanted these mugs too. And my wife was like, you don't need any more mugs. And I'm like, okay, I don't need to get them. But yeah, they're pretty, I feel like there's just so many good mugs. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
you could be a collector of mugs.
I could have
I
was just gonna say I could literally just have like a mug collection if I really got into it. Another thing from Target was, so harping back to New York City Comic Con, so NYCC pops are starting to hit the actual stores. So in our previous episodes we were speaking about the different retailers, shared retailers that were dropping them. Target decided not to do their online shared retailer, which I know you were super upset about as well as I. And they're basically just like pushing them out to certain stores. Now, what's interesting, and we have a lot of great friends in the community, a lot of people who actually listen to the podcast who live all over the country, and different Targets are completely different where they getting stock of stuff. And we're both in New Jersey. So we're on the East Coast and we don't see anything ever. And we're about an hour apart from each other. So within New Jersey, but still a decent part away from each other. And neither of us have access to, we have access to Targets. We just never have good stuff in the Targets. But the NYCC pops are starting to drop. Cad Bane, the Alexis Rose,
and the Pikachu.
a few of those the Pikachu. They're just kind of starting to slowly pop up, along with a few other things that are now like some blacklight stuff that's supposed to be dropping as targets. So keep an eye out for that. If your target, locally is a little bit better, hopefully you're able to get it. I would, the only thing I would say is I think the best chance is if you go really early, because I feel like a lot of times people go like kind of when they open and maybe they have stuff out, because if you go in the afternoon or something, if they did have it out, it's probably going to be gone, especially if it's one of these like, big releases. But yeah, that was just something I saw that was like a drop in terms of like look out for it kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, we go about this within each other. We talk about this all the time. Our targets are so
I even saw some people were already posting pictures last week of the Splinter Pop, which was the new artist series that was just announced on Friday. It's like already in stores like before they announce it. And for all of you who don't know, like, it's obvious which new one's coming, but Target kind of teases it out every week with like a silhouette.
Yeah.
So it's clearly not supposed to be in stores already if they're not even telling you what it is online yet. And it's just, like we can go on all day about how just every Target's different, how employees put the product out, whether I feel like where we live, a lot of employees just take the limited stuff and they don't even put it out. And like, it's sad, but it has to happen. Because
I'm sure it's
the fact that we're never find anything is just suspicious to me.
Yeah. And we don't live in the middle of nowhere. Like, we're in pretty heavily populated areas. So it's an interesting thing that we have to deal with personally. But on the other side of a couple other stores, Hot Topic, Box Lunch, they also dropped a few things. So Hot Topic flocked Blue from Blue's Clues. I know that recently dropped. It looked pretty cool. I remember when that first was like announced. So that one dropped, and then Box Lunch actually dropped a Winnie the Pooh exclusive to theirs, which pretty cool. Nothing I'm going to collect either of those, but cool ones if you guys are fans of the cartoons.
And Hot Topic just dropped a pretty limited Iron Maiden pop. Did you see that? I think it was like what, 5,000?
5,000?
Yeah,
I think it was a 5,000.
I don't collect that, but it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, they've been getting a few because they're also the ones that get all those silver exclusives, like the Britney Spears and the Biggie. But... and they're exclusive and their values go up super high on those. But yeah, they're usually the ones that grab those. But in terms of like online, so Funko had a few different things. So one was probably the biggest drop of the week, and I was very excited for this. We have been talking about this drop for a really long time because it was. So basically, the Funko Shop exclusives have essentially been announced about 3 months ago. We knew about all the Funko Shop exclusives for the rest of the year, basically, right? So then it was kind of just like, all right, when are they going to drop? They're timing it with holidays and timing with this and whatever. And like one of the ones that continued to get pushed back and wondering what it was the blacklight Jimi Hendrix pop. And this was the Blueface Jimi Hendrix pop, which looked amazing. Right away when we saw this was kind of in the height of blacklight when they were dropping cool ones. We're like, wow, this is going to be another one. That's awesome. Made sense. Psychedelic, all that kind of stuff. Never dropped. Then the con comes through and we get a different version of this blacklight Jimi Hendrix, which still looks cool. I know we both grabbed it. It's more of like a rainbow color, yellow and all that kind of stuff. And people thought it was going to replace this one or what was going on with this one. But luckily this week, I actually forgot what day it was. It was earlier in the week, right? It was
I think it was Tuesday, maybe.
Tuesday, I was gonna say maybe. Yeah. It was earlier on in the week. We got the notification, which now Funko has been doing that a lot, where they're gonna have a big drop. They'll notify you through email, or you see whatever, and it tells you that like within usually about like half an hour,
and they actually do it that so you have a chance.
That's when it's gonna drop, so that you can run in. They don't do queues, whatever. You just going in first come first serve, whatever. You're allowed to get 2 max, and that's it, and you cash out. So this one dropped, and luckily I was able to grab it. I know you grabbed it as well.
I grabbed it as well.
I know there was a big hassle with this. I saw a lot of people posting stuff online that they had trouble getting it. Some people put out videos as well in regards to this, but I found this exciting because one, I really wanted it. I'm glad I got it. But two, it was one of those pops that really the hype really like came. It sold out within about 10 minutes.
And they haven't had an exclusive that's sold out like this in a while.
At all. And I was going to say,
I don't get.
It's been crazy. I remember, I've talked about this before, but I remember that Funko Shop exclusives obviously were exclusive. They were fun. It was exciting. It was hard to get. You would try to grab them. They would sell pretty quick, whatever. And I remember sometime, I want to say in the spring of this year, I remember when like the Blacklight Hulk, the first Hulk, not the big Hulk, the regular green, that one dropped super fast, gone. The PHO one eventually around that time dropped. All
Boom,
those were
gone.
exclusives that dropped and sold out so fast. Hype was up and boom. And then there was a period within the last few months where they just started kind of dropping Funko Shop exclusives, and they weren't even announced. They were just like random ones too.
Yeah.
And like we would get them and they would not sell. You would get one or two here and there were cool and they would maybe sell, but a ton of them are sitting. And still to this day, you can see a bunch of, if you go under the exclusives tab in Funko, you can still see a bunch of the ones that are exclusives that are still sitting there. So I was excited to see that this one dropped and it actually sold out fast, because it kind of I was listening to a few people have said this already on videos. It's kind of funny. I don't mean to like harp on this, but it's interesting to say that like people say Funko's dead, and the whole thing about that people aren't trying to buy it. It's not exciting, but this totally just makes you see that it obviously is still around. Maybe it's the Blacklight, because we know Blacklight is a big hype and a big money maker for people, but I thought it was a sick pop.
They haven't had like, it's just funny because I don't buy into the Funko's dead at all. This is a first exclusive in a while that really felt like a premium exclusive. I mean, there are a ton of Funko Shop exclusives that I want in my collection that came out, let's just say a year ago, that the moment you went on, like, I'm like, how did I not get it? I was there waiting and it sold out. But they haven't had anything like great like that. Like, I'm thinking of the rest of the list. Like, I feel like the Watcher could be like the only one that's left on the list that could sell out. I know it is from What If, but that's like a character within the Marvel universe that they don't make a lot of stuff with. He's not just from the What If series. I feel like that'll be a good gauge of, are people still trying to get some of these characters, and it's not just like a Blacklight thing for the Jimi Hendrix, because I would hope that's
that'll be interesting. Yeah, that'd be interesting, because I think there's also maybe a couple anime ones that have a little bit of hype that are supposed to be dropped. Because like we said, there's a list of a few that we know are like announced officially. They're just waiting for them to drop. So I would like more of these to happen, like to obviously get more. Now, some of it I think is that they're just putting out stuff that just happens to say exclusive and it's trash. It's not. It just doesn't. It's not worth being an exclusive.
Yeah, they're looking at a line, especially because everyone knows I'm a big Marvel collector. Like for the Eternals line, it is huge. They decided to take one of the characters, the Icarus character, and instead of him being in a superhero suit, he was in normal people clothes, and they made that the exclusive. That could have just been part of the line.
Another common pop.
Yeah. So
or a chase maybe.
Yeah, that's what they've been. Yeah, which is weird because that line had some chases. Like, to me, that should have been a chase, not a Funko Shop exclusive. Yeah. They're just like cherry picking out of lines that they're making that are huge and making them exclusives is what they're doing.
Yeah. So overall, the exclusive like title is kind of like watered down, and then when you get one that's actually sick and it makes sense and is exclusive, it's like it kind of takes away some of the appeal. But I still think people are still excited for it. I think this was one that has been talked about for a while. I think Blacklight helped it as well, because that has its own collecting of, people that are excited for collecting that kind of stuff. Anyways, Jimi Hendrix is huge. I mean, it was funny. I've seen people saying jokes of like people buying it just because of what it was, and they don't even know who Jimi Hendrix is or don't know any of his songs. And I'm like, that is insane. But but it's true. I mean, there's people out there who get stuff, they have no idea what it is. And that's probably one of them, especially if they're, maybe younger, you don't know anything about them. But like, I actually have a decent amount of Jimi Hendrix pops. So like I got a couple of the common ones that came out a couple weeks ago. Yep. So like,
and they had another exclusive too of Jimi Hendrix. So this is a third one in like a month that they've had it.
Yeah, they've been kind of going crazy with them. It's just interesting because the one we all knew about was the one that they like dropped last, and they just happened to pump out
which Blacklight one do you like better?
I personally like that blue face one. So the one that was supposed to be. I like the other one. I think it looks like I've seen it. People take pictures of the glow. I think it's going to be awesome that I have both of them, but I personally like the other one better. I think a little bit more minimal, like not as many colors.
I thought it was interesting. It seemed like the community as a whole, just from me looking online, seemed to like the con one better, which
wow, really?
Which I was surprised by. I mean, I like, once again, got both of them. I think they're both cool, but to me, the blue face one is just better.
Yeah, that's interesting. One tip though for you guys, what I ended up doing, just so you know, build a cart beforehand. So go on
Yes.
Funko, take a look to see if there's any pops that you like, and maybe you want to grab. And if it's like 3 or 4, and you're like right before maybe free shipping or whatever, and like leave like that, because then that'll stay there as long as you logged in. And the next time you go in, if it's exclusive, because it's what happened with me, if exclusive drops, you can get in, add it, and it'll be added to the rest of your cart, and you can cash out, get free shipping, which is one advantage. They're running the Cyber Monday. Well, not Cyber Monday. It was like a cyber
Yeah.
deal where you get a certain amount of money off, whatever. So I'm gonna let you guys know I actually got that Jimi Hendrix for free because it was $15 off for having that code, and because I had a cart already built and I threw it in there, that $15 pop ended up being free. So like that was another cool thing that I did. But that's just like a tip, just for you guys to know ahead of
I
time,
agree.
because I never did that for a while, and I would like put it in the cart, and you're like, damn, I want to get free shipping. There maybe is another pop that I remember liking, and then when you end up doing that, it sells out, and then you can't even get it out of the cart. So do it the other way around. It's just a little tip for you guys. Besides that, there was a DJ Khaled as well that dropped. That was another fun. So they dropped a few Funko Shop exclusives. Actually, it was interesting. DJ Khaled one I passed on. I have the regular common one, but
Yeah.
I don't know if they have some kind of thing with him. That now they have 2 of them out. A funny thing for you guys, if you didn't notice, so DJ Khaled pop, both of them, he's wearing Jordans. So he actually
that was
has
cool when you told me that.
Jordan sneakers with the Jumpman logo on the tongue. It's literally a Jordan. And Michael Jordan, who has a ton of pops at this point now, none of him is wearing Jordans. He's wearing plain white or plain black, like regular shoes. So I found it really weird that the DJ Khaled pop, unless they I don't know what it is, but maybe for future Jordan pops, they're going to put them on them now. But the fact that DJ Khaled had them is funny. And the community was going nuts about this. I've seen a ton of people talking about it, but I felt like bringing it up just because I thought it was.
Well, it's funny. I don't know enough about DJ Khaled is he known for like only wearing Jordans? Like, it's weird that's a detail on 2 of them.
I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
I mean, like, I'm sure he wears them, and
of course, but it's weird it's on both.
I wouldn't say I wouldn't say it's the only thing. Yeah, they're just 2 different color ones, basically. The same sneaker, actually. It's 2 different colors and 2 different outfits, basically, is why one was the exclusive versus the other one. But yeah, that was one that dropped that I was like, yeah. And then it was when you actually picked up that Eddie Van Halen one, right?
Yeah, I thought that one was pretty sweet, and I like that it was a pose of him like jumping up in the air, like shredding on the guitar. I feel like as we all know, poses are becoming more and more popular, but I don't feel like many of the musician pops have that much going on. They're kind of basic, where I thought this one was pretty cool.
Yeah, usually they don't. I was gonna say, I think maybe like AC/DC, like I think that he's a little bit of an emotion or pose, but yeah, otherwise they're kind of just normal, standing up or maybe holding on to a mic or something. But yeah, that was a cool one. But yeah, so that was what I had for news. As far as drops, pretty good week. Nothing too crazy. A couple of things that we were excited for, but a lot of stuff that we also passed on. But we're going to get into our main topic for this episode. So most of these episodes, we've been talking about Funko, generally mostly Funko related stuff. Our main topics have been collecting in general. We talked about certain Funko items like Funko sodas. We talked about specific lines in Funko like Marvel and DC. But we wanted to switch it up because we know you guys as collectors might collect other things outside of Funko, kind of like we do. And there's a bunch of different things that we're going to go into in future episodes as well, like this. But the first one we want to talk about is one that we feel like is kind of like one of those really sick items, maybe a higher end type item. It's not something everybody can get, but it's always something that you kind of like really want and you wish you could have. I know, like us personally, that's basically the way we look at it. And that is the company Hot Toys. So Hot Toys, we wanted to kind of just give you a little overview if you don't know what Hot Toys are, kind of where they're from and how it started and everything, and then go into like the specific things that they have. Charlie knows a little bit more about Hot Toys because I know he has some more. I have my very first ever one, which I'm going to show off later in the episode, that I ever purchased. But overall, yeah, they're an awesome company. So basically they're out of Hong Kong, right? Based out of Hong Kong. and they started not too long ago. So they started in 2000, the year 2000. So they haven't been around for a super long time. But the biggest thing I could say about them is they're highly detailed collectibles. That's basically like a great way to describe their figures. And when I talk about highly detailed, I mean, Charlie, you could back me up on this. There are spitting images of whatever character or person that they are in a figure.
It's unreal. I mean, they look so identical. I mean, it was just funny because Tom Holland recently, I don't think I talked about this on the podcast before. Maybe
Yeah,
I was,
I
did
think you
I?
had brought.
I did.
I don't know if you had talked about it in the podcast.
Or I was
just
telling
told
you,
me.
but he was talking about how, like, you know, how detailed and crazy they are. And he's like, you know, when I have the ones of me wearing my Spider-Man suit on and my mask off, it's like one thing, but he goes, I know they make one of me wearing from Homecoming, him in his like uniform for school. So he's like, it's essentially someone has a detailed figure of me. He goes, I'm just wearing normal clothes. Like, it's not, obviously it's him as Peter Parker, but they're that detailed. He's like, this is super creepy that someone has like legitimately a doll of me looking at me where I'm not like Spider-Man. That's how detailed they are. I mean, they are so lifelike. It's crazy. I mean, there's not a better collectible
awesome,
out there. Though. Yeah, they look so awesome. I mean, they're straight out of the movie.
Yeah, exactly. And it's mostly pretty much like actual people. Like obviously they have Star Wars and some of those which aren't necessarily all human, but when you see the ones that are human and you see the actual actor literally like you said, like Tom Holland, like their face or whatever it is that they're, you know, their character, it's like crazy. But these figures basically, like they break them down into, so like a 1/6 scale is what they call it. It's like a 1/6 scale. It's like essentially the size and like how they're, you know, it's a that's why it's so detailed, because it's supposed to be like the actual person shrunk down to a smaller scale. So when they started, I found this interesting. The very first ever figure they actually did was a U.S. Army Special Forces action figure,
which is so interesting,
which is awesome because you're like, wow, that's super cool that's what they did, which is weird though because they're from Hong Kong and they made like a U.S. Army US action figure. But that's basically the first one, and then I'm assuming at some point they realize, okay, we need to get into everything that has to do with, you know, movies and TV and culture, different like avenues and pop culture. Yeah. So then they kind of shifted that way and started making more of these. And they have similarities to when it comes to Funko because they have the Marvel license, they have Star Wars, they have DC, they have a lot of these big ones. But then I noticed when I was kind of just looking through their stuff, they have like Back to the Future, they have Terminator. So they have a lot of some of these movies and stuff that you don't, you know, you think of action figure. That's what I thought. Like when I saw those, I was like, yeah, I could, even if Funko doesn't make as many, or maybe they do, you think of like an action figure for those movies, like Predator. You think of
like big movies like that have like big followings. You're not gonna get like a random IP that Funko will have. Like they're not in the business for that. Like they know that they're making these highly detailed figures of like the most popular franchises in the world.
Yep, which is super, super cool because, you know, we're huge fans of most of these, DC, Marvel, both of us, Star Wars as well. And they have so many of those figures. But one thing about it is they're very, very pricey.
Yes.
So we've talked about Funko Pops and how obviously a Funko Pop can essentially become pricey. It could be a grail long run. It can, you know, go up into the thousands, which is crazy, but it can. But retail, the most expensive thing, which was funny because we talked about this before, was the 18-inch Iron Man's $100, right? That's pretty much the most you're going to pay for a Funko Pop retail from an actual store brand. That's it. If you're paying more than that, you're paying, you know, the price to get it resale for an item, like I said, that just value ends up having to go up. You're not going to get an actual, so Hot Toys has a couple different versions, but an actual Hot Toys 1/6 figure like that, you're not going to get it for less than like $300 to $400, and most are usually over $400.
And that's like retail.
And that is, yeah, that's retail, what you're actually paying for it. And I mean, I get it. The detail on these things are amazing. You know a little bit more about them, but most of these come with multiple items and stuff as well, right?
Yeah, I can get into it. So, I mean, when you open up the box, you know, it's in there kind of like any other action figure within a plastic. But I mean, most collectors, even people who are like in box, like hardcore collectors, they take these out because you're doing it, you know, injustice of not seeing all the detail. I mean, if you think Funko Pops are detailed, I mean, they look like nothing compared to these. So,
Yeah.
Captain America one, for example, I mean, he'll have multiple heads, different hands, like one of him holding the shield. You can have other shields, all different props. I mean, I remember like this, it may have been like the Infinity War one. He had multiple different shields, like they're coming in this. They're just so heavily detailed. It's insane. And like you can take off all these different body parts to give them different poses. And so they look that lifelike. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't want to keep saying it over and over, but if you show this to some certain people, you'd have to give it like real quick. Obviously, it's a toy, but it looks like it's a photograph of this person, of the actor.
Yeah.
They're unreal.
Yeah. I like obviously the detail. It's super realistic, but I like the fact that you can totally change. Like you can change their poses. You can have them stand certain ways. You can have. I'm sure like with Star Wars ones, it's amazing with lightsabers and like
Yes.
just there's motion to them, and they're meant, like you said, they're meant to be displayed. Before we got on here, we were actually just kind of talking quick, and I was saying like, what's cool about them is that you can display them out like that, but you also need room. So you need cases and certain, like I see a lot of different people with those big glass cases with lights and LED lights and stuff like that on them to really, really show them off. But you're able to kind of place them around. Like they're not really necessarily like this, like a shelf box type style
Yeah. No.
display. So it's cool if you have the room for them because they look amazing. The detail on them, I think, is sick. I understand why they're at those prices. It just makes it kind of tough. And as a reason why I don't currently have any of them because of that price point. But I think it's something that like eventually I would love to at least try to get one or two or whatever.
Yep.
But it's also not that easy anyways. Like if I
Yeah.
wanted one, I can't necessarily just go and grab it like anything.
They're pretty
right?
limited.
Like
Yeah, they're pretty limited pieces. So in America, there's a distributor called Sideshow Collectibles. That's where you're going to go to get the Hot Toys. And essentially, what happens is they'll like announce a new one, and like they have just as big or bigger diehard following as Funko. Like they know when these are going to drop on their website. And essentially, what you do is you go and pre-order them. They're not just going to say, "Oh, here's a new Mandalorian one. You can get it today." And it's also not a pre-order like a Funko where it's maybe it'll come out in a few months. I mean, they dropped, I noticed on the website, I was looking on the homepage today, and they had a new Catwoman of Anne Hathaway. That's another thing. Like they'll go back. It's just because the Dark Knight Rises is an old movie, it doesn't mean they're not going to still make collectibles for it. And it's not coming out until like 2023. So, but you pre-order it, and what's good is they don't make you don't pay for it all up front. You do have to leave a deposit because essentially these are such a limited run. Like they're making these figures, like that figure is not made yet. They're gauging the public of how many people, how interested you are, and then they'll cap it off, and then they'll do what they call a wait list. And essentially what that is, it's like their initial run that they think they're making has sold out, but since we were saying before, these are super expensive, you could come to a point where it's like, you know what, I don't want to pay for this figure at this point. They're not going to give you back your original pre-order deposit, but then there's a wait list line. So it's like, okay, this person's not buying this figure. It will then you will have the opportunity to buy that figure. But that happens when they are ready to ship. So when you pay, you'll pay it in full, and you're going to get that figure then pretty soon. That's how they know whether people are dropping off. They do provide payment plans for people because they're super expensive. So, if you don't want to shell out, $300 to $600 straight up. So they do give you options like that, but they're not just, and other third-party stores may buy them and then sell them in their comic book stores. So you may be able to find, certain grail ones that they no longer make, on a shelf at a mom and pop shop. But most of the time, if it's a really, hyped figure, you're going to want to try to pre-order it. And, you may get lucky. There are some still really cool ones that you're able to buy right now on their website, but a lot of them do sell out pretty quickly.
Yeah. And that part of it's pretty cool that they are exclusive, and like you're not getting like re-releases all the time and stuff like we get with Funko Pops and stuff. So it's very limited, and if you get it, you get it. If you don't, hopefully you can buy it. Like you said, maybe you can get it third party style and get it off of somebody else or a different store. But it's an interesting thing. It makes it tougher and like more exclusive to even try to get these now. but I do find it super cool and intriguing. I know that they make different. When I was looking through some of them, I know that they have like certain different sizes and stuff. So when I was looking through, I found that for the most part, you're looking at, so because it's in Hong Kong, they put it in centimeters, but for the most part, you're looking at around 30 to 40 centimeters. There are some figures that are a little bit smaller, and there are some figures that are a little bit bigger, but that's around 12 to 16 inches is like, I would say like the average of ones that I saw. But I did see one that was 21 inches. So I just recently unboxed 18-inch Iron Man and on my channel, and it was enormous. And I was like, this is crazy. So the fact that they make a 21-inch, so it's a Hulk Buster, which probably looks even crazier. That thing is $1,100. $1,155 is how much that thing costs. And I am baffled by the fact that that's what it is. And if anyone's grabbing that, like, that is crazy to me. Like, you got to be a hardcore Hulk fan, hardcore, like that's got to be your thing. And I'm sure they make other figures that probably are bigger and like have super detailed, but it's awesome. It's not for everyone. It's probably not for everyone that's in the Funko community because you're probably so used to buying something for $12. And it's just an interesting thing, but it's something cool that could be like something maybe you could splurge for. But I'm sure, like, you know, Charlie said, it has its own community. It has people that are probably just hardcore Hot Toys collectors, and that's pretty much all they get. I know some people that have some. I know some people have a little bit bigger collections. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. I think it's something that we can totally relate to because we like a lot of these characters because they do a ton of Marvel ones and a ton of Star Wars ones. I know those seem to be like their two biggest, which obviously they're the biggest popular franchises. So the most popular ones out there, but it's like, wow, like if maybe I can get one of these, it'd be super cool. But
I know. Yeah. I kind of like just like, yeah, my goal would be to get even just one to start. Like they're just, it's definitely, unless you have so much, just, you know, money to waste to just buy them all. Like it's just like, you're not going to be in that situation. So it's like, this is really when you pick and choose. Like, I know the one that I like, I always look at the site, the ones that I would really want are Anakin Skywalker. Like, I just think that looks so sweet. And I feel like they're going to come out with a new one for Obi-Wan Kenobi where, you know, you definitely could take the helmet off and you'll get to see Hayden Christensen, you know, all burned up. And, you know, then you can obviously still have him looking like Vader, or even they have like a Din Djarin one that came out. They had the Mandalorian ones, but then when he unmasked himself a lot in the second season, for those few times, like, so now they make one where you can see the whole, like, I need one that you actually see the actor's face. Like, I wouldn't want to, Darth Vader is one of my all-time favorite characters, but I wouldn't want to get just the one, even though it's so badass. Like, it's kind of lost on the detail, even though you can see all the intricacies in his suit. I want to be able to see someone's face, which is just makes it, you know, that much more cool. And this, they came out with like an Ahsoka Tano one of Rosario Dawson. I mean, it looks just like her. They're just, I can get pretty giddy talking about them. They're just so cool.
They are. Yeah. If you guys haven't seen them, definitely check them out because just like looking at, like, we're talking about the detail on these things is crazy. And even it's even amazing to think that, yeah, they're, like I said, 12 to 16 inches. So like that's a decent side of foot. Like it's not too big, but for them to put that much detail in even something like that, like it's still small in scale of like how much detail they're putting into it. It's awesome. And they're not like huge fat, they're like life size. They're thin, they're not exaggerated heads. Nothing is exaggerated. Everything's life size, like to scale. It's just shrunk down. But on the flip side, there is a product through Hot Toys that maybe will be, it seems like it's our introduction into getting into Hot Toys. And maybe more of you guys, if you guys are more hardcore on the Funko side and that kind of thing, into Hot Toys, because one, they're cheaper, they're a lower end. Two, to me, they resemble a similarity to a pop. They're similar size to pops. They come in similar type boxes. They're a little bit more exaggerated heads. Their big thing is very exaggerated heads. But what I'm talking about is Cosbabies. So Hot Toys makes part of their line as well called Cosbaby. And it sounds funny, but that's essentially kind of what it is. It's whatever character you're thinking of that they're going to make that character. Imagine if he was a baby but like with a really big exaggerated head, but kind of those animated kind of features. That's what a Cosbaby is. Which, I mean, I know you love them.
Yeah,
These
I
you
love them.
have.
They're cool. I
So
do. I have a handful of them, of Star Wars and Marvel ones. I remember seeing them, Shop Disney, actually. So Disney's website, they do
mhm.
get exclusive ones that you can only get from their site. That was kind of my like gateway into them, because I'm a huge Disney fan, and I was like, I've always wanted these, but like they're not. I mean, yes, you can get them on the Sideshow Collectibles website, but when I go on that website, I'm more drawn to like looking at the other Hot Toys we're talking
Yeah.
about, and they're just like, I felt like it was a more accessible way of getting them. So I started getting them, and I do have a few Star Wars and Marvel ones. And like Migs was saying, like they have just like really exaggerated, cool looking heads. They have like an anime style, in my opinion, a little
Yeah, the
bit, but
eyes and
yeah,
stuff on some of them.
but they have a look just like Pops have a look. Like if you once you see these, you'll be like, oh, that's a Hot Toys Cosbaby. Like they all have a look.
Yep. Yeah, that I was gonna say that it I was resembling them to Pops just because if you're only a Funko Pop collector and that's pretty much the only thing you think of, it's the closest thing that you can say, okay, it looks kind of like that. But they do look different, but they have their own style. Like they all resemble each other within the Cosbaby, like no matter what the character is, you can tell if you see it, you're like, well, that's definitely a Cosbaby because of the style of the actual figure. Um, ton of Marvel. They do a ton of Marvel stuff, ton of Star Wars. Like again, those are the biggest ones. But they do have DC. They do. They even have some horror ones. So like they kind of branch out to a lot of other different types of fandoms
Yeah.
as well. You're looking at a lot lower price range, a little bit more than a pop. So you are going to pay a little more than what a pop is, but we're not talking in the hundreds like these other
Yeah,
Hot
no, we're
Toys.
talking in like
The super,
$20.
yeah, you're like
So yeah,
20, 30, depending on like
the
if it's exclusive and things like that. So that's the range. The only thing I found, and like luckily Charlie's biggest stuff is the Disney stuff, is being able to find somewhere that sells them. So they're not super easily readable. Like you
no.
can't just get them anywhere, because they're mostly made overseas. A lot of other countries will carry them more often than we do. But like he said, there is that site that you can go on, Sideshow, which Sideshow, right?
Yep.
That you can pick some up on there, and then Disney directly, the Disney shop will have them. But the Disney shop, of course, is only going to have
Yeah,
Disney
Marvel
related
and
things,
Star
so they're
Wars.
going to have
Yeah.
Marvel, Star Wars. So if you want DC stuff, you would have to get it somewhere else or get it to one of the other sites, or hopefully maybe a comic shop or something that might have them, like he said, that which is potentially able to. But that's what I found why I think I didn't really get introduced into these too much, was because you just didn't see them as often. I saw some people talking about them. I saw people in other countries talking about them, and I was like, wow, these are super cool. But I never realized, like, okay, well, where can I get them, or how can I grab one? And then I was able to finally get my very first one, which was through Disney because it is a Star Wars figure. And it was my first one ever. So I currently do have one, which will show off in a little bit. But Charlie, like he said, he has a few currently. But I love these things. I mean, they're super cool. I think they look
Yeah, I love the way they
awesome.
look.
Yeah, I totally get the anime type of style, very cartoony, very exaggerated, the heads and things like that. When I first got it, I thought it was actually a little smaller than I figured it would have been. I thought they were a little bit bigger, but they're not. They're I think the box size is pretty close to a pop, but they're just maybe a little bit smaller.
Yeah, they're a little
In terms
bit
of
small.
like,
They're more like, there's not much wasted room within the packaging. It's kind of like the
yeah,
figures in there. It does have a window, but there's not like, room in the front, sides, and back. I feel like the way a pop is, which makes the box smaller.
yeah. So I had a question for you in terms of, because I was a little bit
Yeah.
about them, but do you think, like, I don't want to say like if Hot Toys is going to blow up, is it big or is it going to pop? Because I'm sure it is, but it seems like it's very specific to a certain like group of people, let's say, right? Do
Yes.
you ever see it becoming like, do you think it's bigger than Funko? Do you think it will ever be as big as Funko if it's not as big as Funko?
I don't think it will be as big and popular as Funko because of the price point. Even though we have, like, we're talking about these Cosbabies, like I do think though the people who like the Hot Toys, they're much more passionate fan base. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to be if you're going to throw down that kind of money. And I know like a lot of YouTubers who I may watch who are, they're more like, they're not necessarily collectible YouTubers. They're talking about movies and TV and, you know, they
Hmm.
like collectibles just like the rest of us. Like those are the ones they want to be having. They do have
Yeah.
Funkos, but like their backgrounds are like just, you know, all of these different Hot Toys from, I think the MCU really made them even more popular because
Yeah.
before that, there you weren't pumping out characters like Marvel does now, like all these movies, you know, at least like 2 per year. And but I don't think they'll get to the point like Funko is because, but I don't think they want to be like they're not.
Yeah.
But that's also
No.
it's in
Yeah.
America. Like they have a store. Like if you're in like I'll just use like Hong Kong, where you know their headquarters is, they're much different there. Like I think people there are buying Cosbabies like we're buying Funko Pops in America. Like they're all over the place and they would be much more common to find in a store where we would find Funko. So I also think it's a
Yeah.
geographic thing as well.
I think I had read that they have one store,
They
like an
do,
actual store that's their
like a
own,
flagship
like
store.
actual
Yeah,
flagship store. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting you said that. So the way I look at it, and I'm a Funko collector, so I'm not gonna not necessarily saying this in a negative sense
yeah,
of Funko, but to me, from the outside, if like you saw my backdrop or yours when you have all your pops and stuff, I see like these look more like toys. Like if someone saw these, they're like, oh, this is little toy figures and whatever. And then when you see a backdrop of Hot Toys and NECA and things like that, like I feel like that's more like a figure, an action figure. You know, like I feel like it kind of is more like the upscaled, like the people you're probably talking about are like the people that collect movie memorabilia
correct.
and things
100%.
like that. And that fits into that mold. So like if you're collecting a replica or a real Michael Myers mask and have it on your backdrop, or a Mandalorian helmet, and then you have Hot Toys, like to me, like that fits together as like a type of like a
It
type of
totally does.
backdrop. You know, does
It's
that make
like,
sense?
yeah, no, it does. Like they're like the baller collectibles. Like, I mean, if you're like, I'll just use like TikTok as an example. If I'm like scrolling through TikTok and I find some, obviously the algorithm knows I love Star Wars, and like people are going around like they're like man caves with all their Star Wars memorabilia.
Yeah.
It's perfect. You bring up like the helmets, like the people who are like, they spend all of their money on collectibles. It's hardcore. Not that they don't have the Funkos in the collection, but it is like the
Yeah.
Vader helmet, the Stormtrooper helmet, the Stormtrooper hot toy, the Boba Fett hot toy, the Vader hot toy. Like they're going Hot Toys. Like that is like, it's a status symbol, in my opinion, the collectible slash like
Yeah.
movie prop world. Like, this person like knows their stuff and like they're really a hardcore fan if you're collecting them. Where
Yeah.
like anyone, I was known as like the Funko guy at my job and I had them all over my desk. And then people were like, oh my God, those are so cute. Or like, I want to get them. And like people who aren't collectors at all are getting Funkos. Not that
Yeah.
it's a bad thing. We obviously love Funko more
Exactly.
than anything, but it's just, they're not, the only thing they really have in common is they're collectibles and they're based off of these IPs, but they're a completely different thing.
Yeah. And that's why I think like it's an interesting, because like I feel like you may not see as big of a mix within them, but you'll probably see someone who has a ton of Hot Toys and memorabilia and helmets and all that kind of stuff, and then like a couple pops because like it's their
Yes.
very favorite character, or like a lot of movie they like and have a few of the pops from that movie, and like you see that, or you see the people that are just pop collectors like us, and we just have
Like I
thousands of
think
pops
Hot
and
Toys made the
like that.
Cosbaby line. It's more relatively new to compete with Funko and take, introduce people to their brand and kind of get people to start
Mm-hmm.
buying their product. To me, that's why they made those. I don't think it's a coincidence that they're a similar scale. They have, exaggerated looks.
Yep.
That's why they made those.
Yeah, it makes the most sense, because if their bread and butter was the realistic action figure, that mold, like for them to make Cosbaby, like, and it looks a lot more like Funko Pops, basically, it just didn't make sense unless like they're trying to get some of those people, they're trying to get that their hand into that, maybe because now they know they love the high end clientele that they're getting, but they kind of want to get
Yeah.
common.
I mean,
people,
when I got my first Cosby, I was surprised when I first saw one. I was like, oh, that's made by Hot Toys. Like it just, I was like shocked because it's completely like, we'll show some off later, but it's just a completely different look.
Yeah, I was actually introduced, same thing. I was super confused. And I was introduced to them because whenever I heard Hot Toys, I always was like, oh yeah, that's like those super expensive things. Like to me, I've always known of certain like companies and people like that. Like Hot Toys was always one. NECA has always been a big name that I've always known because obviously they make a ton of horror, figures, and like I've always known like that realm of things. And then there's obviously other designer toy, like super plastic and that kind of stuff. So there's always like those niche different each ones. And then when I heard I had actually been shown cosplay was somebody who actually I was talking to who's over in Australia, and they sell them like a lot, I guess, pretty often. He was showing me some of the Marvel zombie. So they do make Marvel zombie Cosbabies. And I was like, dude, these things are sick. Like, cause he obviously, like Marvels, like the whole, horror aspect of it. And the detail on them was super cool. And they're like over exaggerated and, bloody and all this stuff. And I'm like, what are those things? And he's like, they're Cosbabies. And I was like, oh, okay. And it's like, they're Hot Toys. And I was like, wow, I've never seen those. Because we don't see them like that. We can't just walk into a store and see them all the time. So he showed off a few of them. It was like an Iron Man one. He had a Captain America one. And I was like, these things are sick. And I was like, how can I get that? And I realized it was not as easy to get them. And the boxes were cool. On those, I don't know if you've ever seen them, with the ones where they have the little eyeball on the bottom. The box is like interactive and stuff. So it was cool. So I'm like, these things look pretty sick. But I never grabbed one. And then I think I brought this up actually last week when we were talking to Ezra. Was the very first one I ever purchased is the Joker one, which Charlie, helped me out in finding that one. I just haven't gotten it yet. It's on its way, but it's the Joker bus from The Dark Knight, and it has all the figures of the extra guys that were clowns helping him do the robbery in the very beginning. It's just not the actual Joker. It's the other, goons. And they're inside of this, but they're Cosbabies and they're individual ones. It just happens to be, it's basically like a multi-pack, like we would say in Funko. And then I picked up the one that I'm going to show off, which was one through Star Wars, which I know you said had dropped. And I was like, let me just grab this because it's actually one of my favorite characters in the Star Wars universe. So definitely had to grab that. But I want to show off what we have so you guys can actually see. Yeah. So obviously, if you're listening, you won't be able to see it. So hop over to our YouTube channel. Make sure that you check us out on YouTube because you can actually see this and just have a showing it off to you guys. If you're on YouTube, you'll be able to see it. But I'll show mine off. So this is Boba Fett. So of course, like I said, one of my favorite characters. And I mean, you could see it, like it's so cool. I love the box. The box art is cool in the body, but you can see like just the way his body is. Like imagine, this is how I look at it. So imagine, especially ones with helmets, right? Imagine this is like literally a little child or like a baby. You would imagine him looking like this with like a helmet on. And like I get that look of just like the very kiddie animated like extra thing, but it's cool. It's got like a cool thing to it. And I feel like it makes sense that like these were originally made in like Hong Kong, because like with anything with anime or animated stuff, like it's always exaggerated and extra like bright and everything. And I'm like, it's cool. I really like it. But it's so I wanted to show actually two of the pops so you can get an idea. So the box is a little bit smaller, but it's definitely a lot thinner. But height wise, I believe they're both right around 4 inches. Yeah. So the actual figures are pretty close to being the same in like size. Like I actually have an actual pop here. So you can see it. It's actually not, but even though this is small, there is so much more detail.
There's a ton of detail in these.
So you can tell that they still put in, like it's not as detailed in the sense of like perfect lifelike resemblance, perfect, not exaggerated at all. It's just very detailed. So like, yeah, colors, and there's even like a ding on his helmet in the top corner. So like, that's super cool, the gun and everything. But yeah, I know you wanted to show off a couple because you have a few that actually don't have like a helmet on, so you can actually show.
Yeah, I brought one of each. So the first one I will show does actually helmet on. Like I wasn't even
Okay.
thinking of this when we were talking about like their main faces, that the two we had didn't have the face.
Yeah.
But so this is T'Challa Star-Lord from What If. I just like love this character. It's the last thing Chadwick Boseman did in the Marvel universe. I'm a huge Chadwick fan, so I just love this one. It's so cool. Like the box, like we were saying, it's just so detailed. I love it. And this one, I kind of wish they made one without the mask. Maybe they will, but this one was really cool.
It's got that like color, almost like holographic kind
Yeah,
of
it
box,
does.
like
This
thing
is
to
a
the
different,
box,
yeah,
right?
the different box than like the Star Wars ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. And these, I have these in the box, but I feel like these could lend really, I kind of want to take them out of the box.
Yeah. I know.
And
I haven't
they're
opened
kind of
this
like
one yet.
Funkos, like you can put them back in pretty easily, so to display them if you wanted, and then put them back in the box. And then the other one I have, which really, I mean, even though it isn't a person, you can kind of get the look, a little bit of what the faces look like. I have Grogu. This is one of my first ones, and yeah, I mean, they're just super cool. This is one of the first merchandise collectibles that they made of him.
Oh,
So
wow, okay.
yeah, it's just super cool. And maybe in the key art we'll put a picture of what the human ones look like. I would have to get off screen to go get like I have a Doctor Strange one or like a Luke Skywalker one, and that's where you can really see I feel like the anime influence on the faces. It's kind of
Yeah.
lost a little bit in these characters. I wasn't even thinking of it when I picked them. I just picked them because I really like them. But I'm hoping they make a Boba Fett one without the helmet too. I'm assuming they probably will with the Book of Boba Fett coming out.
Yeah, for the newer one.
They actually just released a new one, a glow in the dark one, which is really cool, which you can get on
Yes.
Shop Disney right now.
And they've been dropping a lot of Boba Fett stuff without the helmet. Obviously, they have the Funko Pop. They have the actual Star Wars Hasbro, like the
Yep.
actual figure. They just recently released one without his helmet on for the show, like that version. So I would assume if they make one, it would totally be super popular. But I was just looking at this because obviously it shows here, where it's produced from Hong Kong. But on this one, it has a website, and it's actually a Japan website. So
Okay.
it's hottoys.jp. So they must be pretty popular over there as well. Because I remember hearing Japan and in terms of where a lot of them come from or where you can get them from. So that must be one of their bigger, like,
Yeah,
site-wise
and totally, like, once
well.
again, I apologize for not picking one. I wasn't thinking that shows off the face, but once again, when you see them, you'll totally understand why. Like, it definitely lends to Japanese culture. People there, I can see these once again, not to go back to what we were saying before. People aren't collectible. People are probably buying these. Like, I could see them just flocking to the store, like, oh, these are cute, or I want these to put on my desk. Like, over in Asia, it just really lends to I feel like their aesthetic of what a lot of, I mean, it has a very anime look. The people.
Yeah. It's cool. I mean, I like them. I mean, if you guys have them currently, if you're fans of them, if this is the first time you've ever heard of them, then awesome, because we introduced you to some new stuff. If I think the best way to getting some of these is maybe the Cosbaby, because they're a little smaller. They're obviously not as expensive. They're easier to get, even though they're not the easiest things to get, but they are definitely easier to get on the Hot Toys front. But yeah, if you're a Hot Toys fan, if you are, because I know we have a lot of different, of course, we have the Funko community who really follows us, because that's who we generally have been in contact with throughout this process. But if some of you guys are collectors or brand new collectors, or you collect something completely different, hopefully if you know more about this stuff, definitely chime in and let us know. Feel free to comment on some of the stuff that maybe you guys have or favorites and stuff, because we want to do, what we're going to do is we're going to do more outside the box, different collecting. Obviously there's going to be an episode on Lego. Lego's enormous. There's going to be other ones too. So like, we're going to talk about different things, but Hot Toys was one that we were really excited about, because it's something that kind of is like, it's that figure that like we think is really awesome, but we don't necessarily have it, but we would love to have it. So it's just kind of interesting to talk about it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, to me, that's like, I have my Funko girls, but if someone came to me today, it's like, you can get any collectible right now of like a figure type, I would choose a Hot Toy in a heartbeat. Like, that'd be my number one. Like, they're just they're unlike anything that I've ever seen before. And I don't want to keep saying that
Yeah.
over and over. They're that cool. Like I
Yeah.
feel like you have the cream of the crop of collectibles.
I definitely agree. Yeah, I think we really hit it on the nail on the head when we were talking about like the type of people that collected and like what it lends to being next to, which is like a lot of that memorabilia and that extra stuff. So, but yeah, I'm sure we'll get some eventually. Hopefully we can. I more than likely, I mean, if you were watching this, obviously you saw the thumbnail, but we'll make sure that the thumbnail does have some other figures and showing some of the details. I'll make sure to really pack that on there so you guys can see some cool stuff as well, besides the ones that we showed off to you guys today. So just in case you happen to miss what we showed you guys, but that's what we're gonna have for our episode today. This is episode 14. Like I said, the episode that we talked about hot toys. I really appreciate all you guys for coming out. If we haven't said it before, please make sure that you guys are subscribed to our channel on YouTube. I know we're getting closer to 100 subscribers. We still haven't hit it. We're kind of crawling there, but thank you guys. We have a lot of really great listeners and people who have been supporting us from the beginning who continue to support us. We're just hoping to continue to grow and, get out to you guys. But keep letting us know things that you want to hear. If there's a certain thing, maybe a certain kind of toy or a certain collectible that we haven't spoken about, and we could do it in a future episode, let us know, because we'll definitely take all that into consideration. But anything from you, Charlie, to finish it up?
Yeah, and just make sure you like our videos, comment. Like I say all the time, we're definitely interactive, we respond, but that obviously helps us for people to find out about us. And yeah, let us know about some other, like Mick said, we're going to start talking about other different collectibles, not just Funko. Maybe throw in the comments some things you collect that maybe are out of the box, and for all maybe we have some of them, and we'll do an episode about it. We don't want to just do the big mainstream collectibles. So let us know what you collect, and that would be awesome, because maybe it'd be something we don't know about and we'll want to go check out. But
absolutely,
besides that, thank you everyone for listening, and until next week, have a great week, and we'll see you soon.
Take it easy, everyone.